Hello and welcome everybody to the Trust Factor, the podcast that guarantees your success when you implement its divine age-old teachings. Welcome to another of our interview series, which have been massively successful over the last few weeks. Today, we're joined by a true leader and an inspiration, a good friend, Rabbi Glenn Black, the CEO of NCSY Canada, an organization that has shaped thousands of Jewish teens with powerful programs, mentorship, and spiritual connection. In this episode, we're diving into what we normally speak about, emunah and bitachon, trust and faith. How do we build them? How do we live them? And how do we bring them into our families, our relationships, and our daily struggles? Rabbi Black brings decades of insight, real-life stories, and practical wisdom from the front lines of Jewish education. If you're searching for clarity, motivation, or a stronger connection with Hashem, this conversation is going to speak directly to you. Let's jump in and welcome Rabbi Glenn Black, who likes to go by Glenn. Glenn, how are you?
Okay, Baruch Hashem, what a zechus to be here with you, my good friend Jesse. Well, I can't believe that you have this podcast. Awesome. I'm so honored.
All right, Baruch Hashem, amazing. It's been going so well. Thank God the listenership is growing, and this interview series has just been amazing. It's a game changer. People are learning so much, and I've noticed so many people, because I'm promoting it, people are tuning in, they recognize the name, they recognize the organization, and it's drawing in a crowd. So it's really amazing. I wanted to focus our conversation on the fact I mentioned that you're on the front line with Jewish teens in the education system, usually in high school, a very formidable year for these people who are just starting to figure out the course of their future, and they're being inundated with information. Some of it might be confused with propaganda, and there's just so much pressure on them to be able to know right from wrong, especially when it comes to Judaism and Israel and what's been going on in the last couple of years. So really, the first question, I think, is what do you see? I mean, what are you getting? Give us some insight into, are you getting nachas from these children? Are you getting, is it a good vibe? Do you have faith in our Jewish future, the next generation? Or what are the challenges that they're facing?
Well, it's a great question. I think you nailed the you nailed the issue right away. The kids are hearing there are studies that are done on how much time kids, teens specifically, are on social media, and you would be shocked to find out. And I wonder what your listenership is would guess to that. But the answer is in excess of 40 hours a week. Kids are online, on Twitter, on Instagram, searching and listening and getting influenced by. I mean, anything you can possibly imagine is accessible to a teen today. And so they're getting influenced by people who you would never allow into your home, who you would never allow a book or a magazine that has that kind of ideology or discussion into the kedusha, the holiness of a Jewish home. And yet the access that these kids have, and it's not just the access, it's the 40 hours, it's the influence, it's the pounding day after day, idea after idea. What is considered truth today used to be, top down, parents, grandparents, educators, passing information down to the next generation. And what we're seeing today on the front lines is that it's bottom up. And that is, the information is getting funneled to them directly into their phones, into their brains. And the influence that you think, a parent thinks that they are the greatest influence on their children, and most likely they will be down the road, but there is a dark side to that is happening all the time. And kids are inundated with what they don't know, what they consider truth, because what is truth today in social media? It's whatever you decide. So it's not just October 7th where there is a massive surge of hate and anti-Semitism and re-questioning who I am and how I belong to the Jewish people, what I'm about. This has been going on for a very long time. And unless we better understand the impact of social media on the minds of teenagers, which, by the way, become the mind of university students and eventually even adults, we won't fully understand how we can be better influencers, be better role models to our kids.
It's, I think that just drives home the point or the importance of why organizations like NCSY are so important, much more today than in so many previous generations, because they're targeting that generation, the education system, while they're young and malleable. That's where the message is being targeted, whether it's at the high school system or post-secondary education. These are their formidable years. And so it seems like the messaging is getting loud and it's drowning out a reality. And so because of that, I think we need your organization and other ones like it so much more today. And I don't know if you've heard this, but what you just mentioned reminded me of a lecture that I heard many years ago by Rabbi Jonathan Rieti. I haven't heard from him in a long time. I think he's on Torah Anytime, and I would encourage people who are interested in the subject to go and try and dig up this class that he gave, because he has a history. His father was in the entertainment business, so to speak, in commercials and voiceovers, and he gives over a spectacular discussion about what you just talked about, which is getting your child's attention and making sure that the information that's going to form their opinions and who they are comes from home and not outside of home. But today, even inside your home with your phones and your computers, I mean, you're bringing the world into your child's bedroom. And so that makes it so much more challenging. I mean, you see the confusion in the children these days?
We sure do. And that's the, I guess that's the beauty where emunah and bitachon start to take shape. Because, thank God, we're reaching a lot, not reaching as many kids as we want to, that's for sure, but we are reaching a lot of kids, and we play a very significant role in their lives. You could ask any alumnus of the organization, any alumni of the organization. I mean, it was these formative years in which they were seeking direction, and they came to people who are our ambassadors, Hashem's ambassadors, really, of Torah, to these kids who are getting these very twisted messaging. And because they come to places like NCSY, not exclusively NCSY, where they have places where they can turn to and ask the real question and discuss, is this true? How should a man deal with a woman? What does dating look like in normal environment? What is the appropriate, respect to be given to our parents and to adults? In some public schools, they allow, and maybe it's not just public schools, but they allow kids to call the teacher by their first name. I never grew up like that. I'm sure you never grew up that way. I'm shocked, but I heard this and I saw this with my own eyes and ears. There's a lack of decorum and structure that the young generation, this generation, might be, being confronted by. And so having these relationships, I hate the word normal, but normal relationships of how do you treat, somebody of the same gender, a different gender, conversations that are appropriate, not being awkward because they spend hours in front of computers. How do you interact? So like a Shabbaton, where the 200 kids come together and they hear powerful Torah messages and they meet incredible role models, and they're taken away from their homes for 24 to 48 hours, and they're together with like-minded teens, and they realize, wait, I'm not alone. The kid from this school or that school, a kid from Holton Hills or even Forest Hill, they find each other at these NCSY conventions, and they say, wait a minute, I thought I was crazy. And the kid says, I thought I was, but you're not crazy. You're the normal one. You're the one who's learning and growing and trying to grasp what MS is and how you try to relate that truth to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and how do you allow Hashem into your life, whereas the world is sort of blocking that out. In the world of NCSY and the outreach movement, we are creating huge opportunities for the kids to become vessels of opportunity for emunah and bitachon, and allowing HaKadosh Baruch Hu's light into their world. And they're not alone. There's thousands and thousands of them. Today, NCSY, just our organization, this is not a plug, but I just tell you, you can see this. We have our own data system. We see over 5,500 kids a year today. NCSY is enormous. Baruch Hashem, that's just in Canada.
Wow.
From East Coast to West Coast. It's a tremendous influence that we are trying our best to do. It's only 1 out of 20, one of every 5 kids, 20% of kids today part of the organization. That's why we have to do so much more, because I really do believe that the messaging of what we're putting out there, role modeling and Torah and bitachon, and using Torah biblical personalities as paradigms of what kind of life you should be leading, that message has to get out there more and more and more.
Let me tell you, Glenn, I know it's been a while. It's certainly been a while. We've had the merit of knowing each other for a very long time, and our families have been very close. I had the merit with my family on a couple of occasions many years ago to come to one of these Shabbatons that you were just talking about. And I got to tell you, as much as I know you as on the personal side, I think that's where you shine more than anywhere else, because for those who don't know this, who've never been to a Shabbaton, or their children have never been, or they've never heard of NCSY, the ability that you have in these Shabbatons, not just you, but the people that you surround yourself with, the employees, the people who give of their time to be able to inspire this next generation, this Shabbaton is transformative. It really is. So give us a bit of an insight about, because a lot of these kids are coming from secular backgrounds. They're coming from the public school system. They're not religious in many cases, or in most cases. How do you begin to approach, whether it's at a Shabbaton or one-on-one, just the conversation about recognizing that there is a God and that there is a purpose and that there's more to life than what we see?
Right. So, at a Shabbaton, the magic of a Shabbaton is something called a DMC, Deep Meaningful Conversations. And NCSY, we master this. And the way we master this is that besides the full-time staff, like you talked about, that come to a Shabbaton, we bring 30, 40, depending on how many kids we have, university students who we call advisors. And they're basically mentors to these kids. And they're just, they're in university, so they're just 3 or 4 years older. They've all gone to yeshiva. They've all learned somewhere, and they have so much to offer these kids. And they discuss their own journeys. The advisors talk about their own personal journeys with these kids. And it becomes, yeah, you did that. I can do that too. Where did you come from? You came from this city and that family and that situation, and you overcame, and you found Hashem, and you want to grow in your Yiddishkeit, you want to become a Torah Jew, and you went to yeshiva, you went to seminary, and now you dress a little differently than you did before. You grew up differently. When they see these role models, total game changers. The conversations are not about music and celebrities and just sports, and that also happens. It is all elevated to a new level of what do you want your life to look like. And if you never come to a Shabbaton, you may never have a conversation like that. That's why they're so profound and they're so powerful, why we do them so often, why we invest so much time and energy and money on a Shabbaton, is because when you capture the neshama of the kid, the heart of the kid at a Shabbaton, that kid was usually never the same.
I wish we could translate the importance of this through the podcast. I don't think people can really understand it until they really experience it. But the reality is that we all know you just have to have eyes open to recognize that the systems, especially the education systems around Western democracies, are full of ideals that fly in the face of a lot of the values that were taught to us by the Torah, that have allowed humanity to survive and to indeed thrive and to get to this point. But somehow there's been, it seems, a concerted effort in the education system to turn everything on its head. And these children, their kids, are becoming influenced by it. So when they see, like you just mentioned, somebody who's senior to them, who's been through the program and who is thriving and who is coming to dedicate their time and energy to help the next generation, I think it's tremendous and it's critical. We can't do without it. There are so many other programs at NCSY, like the Learn and Earn, for example, where the children come out and they get paid a small nominal amount, but nonetheless, it gets them to come out. And whatever we can do to get these kids to come out and learn and grow and interact with people who are there to inspire them, I think it's critically important. Then there are the parents. You also, by virtue of dealing with the children, you deal with the parents. Are you seeing that more parents are becoming involved? Or is it strictly just the kids? Is there a natural natural progression to be able to start talking to the parents about their relationship, their connection back to their Judaism?
Well, okay. I mean, Jesse, I hope that everybody who's listening knows how important a role you played at a very crucial moment in NCSY's growth. A few years back, there was one parent, I won't say the name unless, we don't want to reveal it, although you can tell it if one day, where a parent dropped off their kid at this same learn and earn that you're discussing. And he asked, when can I come back and pick up my son? And somebody said an hour. And he goes, well, I live a half hour away. By the time I get home, I have to come back. So that's not going to work. And then somebody invited him. Said, why do you have to leave? Why don't you stay and learn with your son? And Jesse, you were that chavrusa. You were that learning partner for that family, if you recall. I'm sure you recall. And you're still, friends. That moment changed NCSY's entire trajectory of how we always knew parents were partners, but we didn't program for that. Since that moment, NCSY created something called the Jewish Family Experience, where we now run weekly programs and learning programs for moms and dads, where we engage 5-6 times a year at holidays. We invite teens and their parents to come to learning programs, challah bakes, mothers and daughters. We just had one 2 weeks ago with Mrs. Shelley Shem Tov, who was the mother of Omer Shem Tov, the hostage that was Baruch Hashem, who survived. His mother was here. Incredible 250 mothers and daughters. We run trips to Israel called TJJ for Moms, which actually my wife runs, which TJJ is NCSY's flagship trip for teenagers. And every time parents would always say, well, what about me? Why can't I go on a crazy trip like this, an amazing trip? Yeah, you're right. Why not? And so we created that, and we're continuing to grow our parents. Parents need today more than ever before partners in educating and raising their children. The expression, it takes a village. It really does take the village, and they lean on us. I have calls and emails on a regular basis from parents. Many of them, by the way, are alumni of NCSY who are I'm still very close with. I have this situation with my teenager now. They're 20 years out of NCSY, but they still want to connect, and they come back to their source. They come back to their inspirational history and past. What can I do about my kid? How can you help me? My son needs this. My daughter needs that. How can you serve them? We're dealing with parents all the time as partners. I'll just say one last thing. There is a idea that in the Kiruv movement, the goal, and it maybe 40 years ago, 50 years ago, even before my time for sure. I'm around 35 years, so way before my time, there was this divide and conquer strategy. We're going to save the kid at all costs, no matter what the parent wants, no matter what is good for the family. And I'll tell you the truth. I've been doing this since 1992. Okay, so a long time. It was my first. It's my first and still only job. Simply, no one else really wants me. So I've been doing this for a long time, and we're so proud of our transparency of what we're trying to do with the kids, because we don't see the parents as an obstacle. We see them as an absolute partner in engaging their family towards a more Jewish lifestyle.
Glenn, I can attest to that. That relationship you were talking about happened many years ago. I had the merit of being part of your program, the Learn and Earn, and I had the merit of helping a family that was open-minded, and they were looking for growth. And because they were looking for growth, and NCSY had these programs, then we invited them in, and I know intimately this wonderful family that grabbed on and changed their entire surroundings. They literally moved. They sold their home that was in a non-Jewish neighborhood. They came to a Jewish community. They became members at shuls. The children started learning and growing, and then got married and are living Jewish lives and bringing Jewish kids into the world. It's just spectacular. And it all really is a testament to NCSY and the connecting of the parents back and making it a familial approach to Judaism, which is really the way that it's supposed to be. But I want to ask this, and maybe we'll end with this, because we could talk forever, and God willing, we'll have you on again for sure. But how do you, because you're dealing with these people at all different stages of their relationship with their Creator, how do you address, whether it's with a parent or whether it's with a child, that is coming from a secular background, introducing them to this concept, and you want them to start testing out this idea of having faith or having trust in a creator. What's a step? Give me a practical thing that you might say to somebody to say, hey, listen, there's a God. He wants a relationship with you, and you're going to benefit if you have a relationship with him. What would you suggest to them would be a practical step or tool or exercise to be able to venture in that direction?
Okay, that's a heavy question. And if it's only one sentence, and it was al regel achas, I would say really only one thing that I say so often. I can share a quick story if you'd like.
Sure.
Share with the kids as well. But I tell the kids that Hashem does not do things to you. He does things for you. And that is a paradigm shift in kids' minds when they think about like all this stuff that's happening in the world. Seems so horrible and negative, begadol in the grand scheme. And then in personal, life's not so good. School's not so great. Friends are not working out right now. I broke up with my boyfriend, girlfriend. I got a situation. How do you view those moments? Is God giving you a patch? Is this something that God is punishing you? Is there a God out there that just wants to make me unhappy? So Hashem is not doing things to you. He's doing things for you. It changes everything in the way a kid looks at herself or himself. If he realizes or they realize that every moment in their day is Hashem guiding them and giving them that challenge so that they can overcome that challenge, so they can be better people, that they could, when they come on the other side of that challenge, that's where true growth happens. That's where their true identity emerges. And so if I had one sentence, what do you tell these kids? This is what we tell those kids all the time.
It's one word. It's a changing the word that he's doing things to you and he's doing things for you. It changes everything because now you've got somebody at your back. You've got the most powerful, the most capable at your back who's ready and willing and wants to be able to see you grow and succeed. It's unbelievable. It's transformative. That was Rabbi Glenn Black from NCSY. Rabbi Black, thank you so much for taking the time. I know you're a busy guy. You're running so many programs. I encourage everybody to go online and look up NCSY and get involved. It doesn't matter where you are. They're everywhere. Get involved and get your children involved, and you will only stand to benefit. Rabbi Black, thank you for being on the show.
Oh, an honor and a pleasure, and continue your holy work, Jesse. I'm really proud to have been part of this. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much. Thank you all for joining Rabbi Glenn Black and myself in this powerful conversation on Emunah and Bitachon. If you've heard something today that moved you, then save this episode and share it with someone who might need to hear it. And be sure to subscribe on any of the platforms so that you don't miss upcoming conversations that challenge, empower, and uplift. And if you're on social media, connect with us. Leave your thoughts. Drop a quote that resonated with you. Hashtag the Trust Factor Podcast. Until next time, keep growing in your trust and keep living with purpose. I'm Jesse Revivo, and this has been the Trust Factor Podcast. Thanks for listening.